Okay. Welcome to the land of Scorpio. Often we don't tune in at the level that I'm going to present to you right now. And that is that we all have Scorpio somewhere within the matrix of who we are. And each year at this time, today, as a matter of fact, the sun moves into that zone of space that we attribute to the sign of Scorpio. And that's what's going on today. And what it means is that for all of us, each and every one of us, that Scorpio part of us basically has this solar radiance amplifying that particular sign. And because of that, each of us, no matter what sign we might have a tendency to lean toward as being so friggin' important to us, right now, that sign is Scorpio. It's that part of us, no matter where it is in your chart, that is highlighted. Now, that's a good term to put it. As with any week, when I look at the events, or we shall call it the celestial dance moves that the planets are precipitating and the interpretations thereof, the main one that stands out is that it's going to be a new moon on Tuesday this week. And it's a new moon eclipse, which, adds a certain extra dimension to, how we might play that particular kind of energy. And I'm going to just, I'm trying to think. I did a discussion with an astrological friend of mine on Friday this week, which I basically made available to everybody on my mailing list. And that was a lot more in depth, but there are a couple things to pay attention to, because eclipse means that the moon, in this case, going to eclipse the sun, is in between the sun and the earth. But this is just a partial eclipse, and the reason it's a partial eclipse is because eclipse cycles last for 1,280 years. There's a large footprint there. And we're in the last, or the waning cycle, the last, several hundred years of this particular thing. I think there's about 300, maybe 400 years left of this cycle. This eclipse thing, they're called Saros cycles, or Saros series. And each series has a particular definition to it. And I'm going to read you the definition from Bernadette Brady that I suspect has a footprint imbued from more than just her perspective. But this eclipse series is about being forceful and taking power. It has a manic flavor about it, with great force or strength manifesting in the relationship area. Individuals experiencing this sorrow series may experience sudden events, like falling in or out of love, or sudden sexual encounters. The individual may also exert a huge effort in some group activity. That has a lot to do with the particular chart for March, I think 6th of 1049 when this particular Saros cycle began. But bringing it more back into this week and the essence of the Scorpio flavor at play within each and all of our worlds. What does Scorpio mean? Let's bring up a chart for right now. This is a chart for today, this morning, where I am here in Port Ludlow, Washington, and Scorpio. This is an energy signature that what it does is it tunes into a particular energy signature within each of us that may or may not be overtly comfortable for us to tune into. And I say this with the very particular perspective that factors that Scorpio stands for. I mean, right off the bat, I will take the Plutonic version of this and say death. Well, it's not just death that is being emphasized in this Scorpio dance. It's death and rebirth. And quite unfortunately, most people don't tune into the fact of all the elements of that cycle. It's just like death, and one of those things at the the heart of one of the most terrifying aspects of being alive is the fact that we are going to die. Well, hey everybody, we're all gonna die. Everything dies, and it's more of an, to see it as opposed to a finality, which is one of the reasons that it terrifies so many people, is that it's just a step in a process. And it's a process that our body, is going through on an ongoing basis. All of the parts that make us up have a useful life experience, and then it's time for them to let go. The skin on our body is replaced all the time. The cells within us die and pass away and are replaced by new cells. Part of the vitality of life is being aware that this death cycle doesn't necessarily have the terminal quality aspect that most tune into. It's a step along the way of life. And I think that paying attention to that life factor has probably got a lot more relevance to what it is that we're about than we're really, inclined to give it credit for. Who is Scorpio? What's that part of us? What does it stand for? Where does it resonate? Here are some Scorpionic terms to consider. Scorpio, the transformer, the investigator, the researcher, the shaman, the investor, the sorcerer. Yeah, those are all, potential archetypes that could signify aspects of this Scorpio dance. But let's bring it down to a focus on what is that larger picture of Scorpio about. It's about looking into the mysteries of life, or just looking into mystery in general. But I prefer to think about it as really looking more profoundly into the mysteries of what is life about. It's the next sign after Libra. Libra has basically invited us all into the experience of tuning into what does it mean to interact with the other. And like any sign that follows another, it carries an imprint from the previous sign. So what might transpire in a scorpionic fashion to, what are the mysteries, but what other terms might Scorpio have? Scorpio carries an intensity to it. There's a penetrating quality to what can transpire between people. There's an interpersonal space that's opened up, that's a shared resource kind of energy, whereby the interaction that takes place between people doesn't necessarily always transpire at the surface level. And this is one of the factors that, probably has a lot to do with why people get a bit uncomfortable about the experience of that Scorpio energy when it's in play. There's an intuitive sensing within that Scorpio archetype that, tunes into the spaces that are not on the surface, the hidden. There's that mystery side, the hidden side of life that most of us often attempt to keep in the shadows of what it is that is going on in our world. This is our own secret kind of space. These are all, scorpionic terms that I'm throwing out here. But to that Scorpio perspective, there are cracks within those shadow spaces that provide opportunity to actually see into that shadow experience that others and ourselves may think that we are actually attempting to hide away. You can kind of sense just in that someone may not jump up and down with joy and says, "Oh, I'm glad you're peeking into my shadow self." I don't think so. There's a reason they call it the shadow self. It's because the thoughts, those inklings of, shall we call it inspiration? Do they come from the dark side? Highly likely. And it's not always comfortable to have the dark side step out into the light. So here we are in Scorpio, where sometimes the things that are going to surface as we go through this next month are there's going to be a color to them that, is likely dim somewhat, and not that brilliance of, that solar influence, which is there, but the opportunity to utilize that solar orb to bring to focus in our worlds those hidden places within us. one of the things, one of the archetypes of Scorpio is the transformer, is transformation. On the journey through life, we accumulate baggage, things that along the way we have picked up that, you know, may or may not be as relevant to us in the current moment as they necessarily were when we first encountered them. The invitation when Scorpio is on the table is to actually lighten your load. It's time to really do some decluttering of all the stuff that you have managed to accumulate, so that as you go through, Scorpio, is it the hell realms? And what version of the hell realms might you have? Well, I would like to point out to you that no matter what version you have, we're still heading to death and rebirth, but depending on how much luggage, baggage, stuff that you try to hold on to in order to go through what can be an overtly clarifying experience toward being reborn, is going to have so much to do with how willing you are to relinquish those things that are really no longer as important as you once thought they were. Part of the rebirthing aspect of this experience is the requirement to actually have the space, the room for something new to not only be found, but to find a place within us. If we're too full, have too much stuff, holding on to us, finding that new opportunity for something to awaken a part of us that hasn't been awoken before is not going to happen. It just isn't. You have to basically create opportunity and space by getting rid of stuff. Tuesday this week. Let's go to Tuesday. Is a new moon. Basically, I could bump it. It's sometime around, what do I have it written down here at just a hint before 4 o'clock in the morning here on the Pacific coast. 4 o'clock in the morning. We won't see the eclipse. It's a partial eclipse on this particular part of the globe. It's more Europe and northeastern Africa, part of Russia area and stuff. That is, they will see a dimming of the solar light. But more importantly is, what might this eclipse have significance for us? Because as it is a new moon, as all new moons are, these are ideal times to set an intention for what it is that this next lunar cycle might provide you opportunity to develop. So I must ask you, are you willing to develop something new within yourself? Or are you still hung up on all the things that you think are way more important than being born anew? this eclipse right on this particular new moon says, and you will know, actually, I'm going to go back. I have to show you this. Okay. There we go. Let's go back one more hour. You will notice when you look at this, we have the sun at 2 degrees of Scorpio. We have the moon at 2 degrees of Scorpio. We have Venus at 2 degrees of Scorpio. Venus, the ruler of Libra, has been traveling with the sun very closely. Cassimi is one of the terms used all weekend long. And even when the new moon happens on Tuesday, it's there on the outskirts of that same kind of Cassimi energy. And Cassimi is, it's a solar prerogative of whatever planet is Cassimi, the sun, to actually tune into the energies of what that planet represents and, cast a light upon it. You can see the sun as the king energy as well. So there's a brilliance in opportunity for any planet that is that close to the sun to be given some highlights as to what it represents in a way that it can only happen under that solar prerogative. This is why every new moon, when the moon and the sun come together, that lunar capacity, how we feel is, it's set in motion. Do I want to feel a new intensity, a new intention in this moment that I'm going to expand upon? Well, Venus right now, because it's been traveling with the sun for the past several days, is, as the ruler of Libra says, I must include, and this is one of the factors of Libra, is shared resources. I must include in whatever it is my intention is intended to be, the inclusion of the other, whatever the other means to you as part of this package. I am not doing it alone. And I think that's a pretty vital thing to keep in mind, because traditionally, or maybe energetically, that Scorpio signature is something where, I'm going into the deeper mysteries of life. I'm going where stuff is secretive and stuff. And, it's not necessarily or easily a zone where people kind of, openly share with one another some of those factors that are often hidden deep within them. But perhaps because of the Venus signature for this particular new moon eclipse, there is something that's saying there are things at a soul level that each of us has come to emblazon with that soul energy in such a way that it's vital for us to share with others those perspectives that often don't come to the surface, because it's highly likely that when we compare notes with others at that level, there's the energizing of soul growth is going to be enhanced in ways you cannot, I cannot, we cannot predict, because you haven't been there before. It's transformative. It's the invitation for something new to put in an appearance. So this eclipse new moon is asking us, asking me, how comfortable am I to shed some of my skin and make myself open more to being in the space with others in an honest place, that I would invite them to honestly participate with me in discovering, why did I, as a soul being, come here and incarnate on planet Earth at this time? Is there magic in that? Does it feel magical? I suspect that if you're all too hung up on the human prerogatives, it would be easy to miss the magical connections that our souls are, dying to participate in. That's a good Scorpio thought right now, because our soul wants to be more brought out into the light, into the shared experience of soul growth that is why we incarnate in this physical realm. Anyway, I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Scorpio, the intensity of that Scorpio part in us is right now, it's stepping into that amplification process. And I apologize if I come to a little heavy right now, but that, this particular solar eclipse is exactly partile, 2 degrees 0 minutes from my sun, my moon actually, at 2 degrees 0 minutes of Aquarius. So the square 90 degrees, there's some friction in the air there, but one can attempt to retreat when that kind of energy is present. But my Aquarius moon is not inclined in this moment to sense the benefits, any benefits, by retreating from that, hard square energy. It's like there's a fire that's lit within me that says, I need to be much more of an invitation to feel at as deep a level as I possibly can, and see if I can inspire in any way that same level of feeling within you to, come out of your shells that you hide behind. Scorpio season is an ideal time to do that. Comfortable? Oh no, I can't say it's going to be comfortable, but will you grow from it? Absolutely. We all are going to grow. We all need to grow from this. We need to come out of those hidden places that exist within us into the light. And it's like, oh, I get, as I'm saying that, I get the picture of the Draculas and stuff. I can't stand the light. The light is way too much. I'm going to burn. Well, there's an aspect of us that might need to burn. It's, while we got that fire going, let's throw some of that luggage and stuff that's in that background that we're heading into the Scorpio zone into that flame and allow it to be incinerated, because it's outlived its usefulness. It's time for something brand new to open up and be alive in our worlds with each other. Shared resources. Shared resources doesn't necessarily mean just the physical things. Oh no, it's an energy. there are mysteries that await us. And when our Scorpio part is being inspired, curiosity, which is where Mars is down in Gemini, and Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. There's a curiosity factor in play. But how are you going to play it? Intensely, I hope. I'm going to ask questions about the mysteries. And the mystery, one of those mysteries that's probably most paramount in the experience of each of our lives is, how do you fit into our world? How do I fit into our world? And might there be the necessity or the requirement to let go of some of the awarenesses that I thought I knew so that something brand new could be born? Highly likely. Anyway, what else is going on this week while we're doing the dance here? Let's put this back up to 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I take copious quantities of notes, everything. There are some, also some substantial energy signatures that are going to transpire this week as we move for a Wednesday. You can kind of see that Jupiter is down there at 0 degrees of Aries, moving back toward, you just saw it move there. And if we move going to the next day, oh, we got a shift. Jupiter has just shifted from Aries, that drive and impulse to do something, back into Pisces, a sign that it is the traditional ruler of, and you can kind of almost take a breath of life, a freeing experience of the expression of, Jupiter bigness, but not the kind of bigness that the Aries is like, I want to make an impression on life, but Pisces is like, I want to understand in as large a context as I can, what does it mean to investigate what the mysteries of life have to say about what is source? Where do I come from? Where am I going? Those are the kind of questions that might show up in Pisces as we not only head for the deep end of the pool or the oceanic level of awareness, but willingly dive deeply down into it. This is another water sign like Scorpio. And so Jupiter moving into Pisces this week will add emphasis, if we are willing, to actually plunge more profoundly into investigating and discovering what are the mysteries that exist in why I incarnated here on Earth, and might there be something in that is trying to put me in contact with what is source? Where do I come from and where am I headed? Not to be, just the only thing going on as far as signs, planets shifting signs. Mercury over here, you see, is at 28 degrees of Libra. We go ahead one day, and because of the speed of Mercury on this day, which is Saturday, Mercury is going to shift also into Scorpio. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, which is where Mars is down there. And so imagine, if you will, a being, curiously strolling along through that realm of the interaction with others and everything, and it steps across this, threshold. We'll call it a threshold because I think that's a good term for it. From Libra into Scorpio, our thoughts, our words are going to shift if we're paying attention from just the chit chat kind of everyday conversations to a curiosity being driven by that Mars down there in Gemini. And I say driven because Mars is on the degree 25 degrees of Gemini, which is the degree that it is going to go retrograde at. So it's emphasizing, it's when a planet comes to a point where it's apparently standing still, there's a and this is Mars we're talking about. So there's an intense drive to emphasize that Martian signature in Gemini, and Mercury moving into Scorpio. It's like these two are in each other's signs. So our thoughts and our words and are going to be intensified in very unique fashion, Might the experience or the curiosity of asking, what is life's mystery? Or what are life's mysteries that in this moment of Mercury going through Scorpio, I might discover if I asked the appropriate questions to the appropriate people at the appropriate time? That's a pretty potent energy, but no, not to be undone. We go to Sunday, the 30th. Look at that. Red S right over Mercury. It's stationing. It's stopping its movement forward and ready to move into its reverse thing. Mars is doing a very long dance. It's 8 months long in Gemini. And so that driving, impulsive Martian energy, that as well has its, foothold within the realm of Scorpio, which is where the sun and all those other planets are right now, is, the curiosity, the drive to, to really go deep into what is it that is inspiring to allow me to find a new birthing experience within myself, within each other, that is going to be meaningful from this point going forward. It's not just a one-off kind of thing, folks. There's an energy here it's percolating. It's intense and alive. It wants us to be reborn. Are you willing to change those things that you thought were so friggin' of importance? Essay question. I can't give you a yes or no on that, nor should I. Anyway, this eclipse photo that I have behind me is a total solar eclipse, which is not what's going to happen, but it was the one picture that I had that was closest to a eclipse. We're due for some pertinent and possibly life-changing energy shifts that are available to us if we're willing, as we head into this Scorpio season. Are you willing? I'm willing. I want my soul, actually, my soul wants the openness of what shared resources might happen at an energetic level to tune into very specifically with what other people's soul awarenesses are telling them, that in that experience, our souls might recognize their connection one to another and to Jupiter going into Pisces, source. Because source grows as individually our souls grow. Are you willing to grow at that level? This is what I sense that I'm being asked as we go into the Scorpio season. So enjoy the ride. And whatever you do, don't hold back. If people ask you a question that a part of you that you know exists, but you didn't really sense others might, maybe they do know. Maybe they have a perspective that could shine some light on something that you've been hiding away that has encumbered the capacity of your soul to grow. And now in Scorpio season, that opportunity is here. So next week, we'll still be in Scorpio. I'll try and tone it down, but I cannot guarantee that. I never actually know, where the planetary dance is going to lead me, but there's some powerful signatures at work right now. Pay attention to the deep zones. There are mysteries within you awaiting to awaken. Good luck on this